Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something I've learned through life. Every single one of us is going to get tired, we're going to get drained, and we're going to hit a point where we feel like we just can't go on. That's human. You are not weak for being tired. You are not broken for needing rest. You're human. The real strength comes from understanding that sometimes you've got to step back, recharge yourself, and then come back stronger than ever before. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now that might just change the way you look at your journey. Rest is not weakness. It's wisdom. Somewhere along the line, this world started teaching us that if you ain't moving every second of the day, if you ain't grinding 24/7, if you ain't sacrificing every ounce of yourself to chase a goal, then you don't want it bad enough. People make you believe that if you sleep, you're lazy. If you take a break, you're falling behind. If you breathe for a moment, somebody else out there gonna get ahead of you. But let me ask you this. What good is chasing the finish line if by the time you get there, you're too broken, too worn out, and too drained to enjoy it? That's not success, that's self-destruction. See, I done lived long enough. I've fallen enough times. I pushed myself past exhaustion enough to know that you cannot run on empty. You can't keep pouring out and never refill. You can't keep giving the world your best when you ain't got nothing left inside of you. Rest is not a weakness. It's not a lack of ambition. It's not a flaw in your character. It's wisdom. Because wisdom tells you, slow down now so you can go further later. Recharge today so you can fight tomorrow. Wisdom tells you, you're not a machine, you're a human being. And human beings need restoration. Let me put it like this. Think about a phone. Every single one of us got a phone. We charge it up every night, sometimes 2 times a day if we're using it too much. Why? Because without a charge, the thing shuts down. It don't matter how expensive that phone is, how many apps it's got, how good the camera is. If it's dead, it's dead. Now, none of us gets mad at the phone for needing a charge. Nobody looks at the phone and says, man, you weak for running out of battery. Yo, we plug it in, we give it power, and we let it rest until it's ready again. So why is it that when it comes to ourselves, we don't do the same? Why do we beat ourselves up for needing to recharge? Why do we call ourselves lazy when all we really need is a pause? If the phone deserves a charge, then so do you. Rest is wisdom because it keeps your mind sharp. When you never stop moving, when you don't take a break, your brain gets cluttered. You stop seeing clearly. That's when you start making poor decisions, reacting out of stress, snapping at people you love, chasing things that don't even line up with your purpose. Rest resets your mind. It's like cleaning off the fog from a window so you can finally see through it again. Some of the greatest ideas, some of the biggest breakthroughs, they don't come when you're overworked and exhausted. They come when you slow down, when you give your spirit room to breathe, when you finally stop long enough to hear that still, small voice inside telling you the direction you need to take. Rest is wisdom because it strengthens your body. Let me tell you, I don't care how tough you think you are, if you don't take care of your body, it will sit you down. If you don't listen to it when it whispers for rest, one day it will scream, and it'll do it by breaking you down. I've seen people who grind so hard, they don't eat right, they don't sleep, they don't exercise, and then they wonder why they sick, why they always in pain, why they always fatigued. That's not strength. That's neglect. Your body is the only vehicle you got to carry you through this life. Treat it with care. Give it rest, give it fuel, give it movement. And when it thanks you by carrying you longer, by carrying you stronger, you'll understand why wisdom always beats pride. Rest is wisdom because it recharges your spirit. I don't know about you, but I know I can't fight the battles of life on my own strength. I need God. I need faith. I need my spirit aligned. But you can't hear from God when your mind is noisy and your schedule is chaotic. You can't feel his peace when you're running like a machine with no pause. Sometimes you got to be still. Sometimes you got to unplug from the world to plug back into your source. Sometimes you got to step away from the noise to hear the message. That's wisdom. That's how you recharge your soul. Because when your spirit is right, you can handle the storms. When your spirit is strong, you don't break as easy. You bend, you adjust, you grow, and you keep on going. And let me tell you this. Rest is wisdom because it prepares you for longevity. Anybody can sprint for a short time. Anybody can work hard for a few days or a few months. But real success, real greatness, it's about endurance. It's about staying in the game long enough to win. And endurance requires rhythm. It requires pacing yourself. It requires knowing when to push and when to pause. If you go all out without ever stopping, you burn out. But if you respect rest, if you honor the pauses, you build consistency. You build a life that lasts. You don't just shine for a season, you shine for a lifetime. I know there are people out there who will judge you when you take your time. They'll say, "She not working hard enough. He not grinding like the rest of us." They don't want it bad enough. But you got to be wise enough not to measure yourself by somebody else's definition of hustle. Because let me tell you, there are people who look like they winning right now, running full speed, not stopping for nothing. But they're on the verge of collapse. They're going to burn out. And when they do, they have to stop for months, maybe even years just to recover. But you, if you move with wisdom, if you respect your rest, you'll still be standing, you'll still be pushing, you'll still be climbing because you knew when to slow down so you could keep going. Rest is not weakness. Weakness is ignoring your needs until you collapse. Weakness is pretending to be stronger than you are just to impress people who don't live your life. Weakness is sacrificing your health, your peace, and your joy just to prove a point. Rest is wisdom. Rest is strategy. Rest is how you keep your power. I can remember times in my life where I thought if I didn't take every job, if I didn't say yes to every opportunity, if I didn't work every single hour, then somehow I'd lose my chance. And you know what happened? I wore myself out. I was tired, I was stressed, I was irritable, and instead of moving forward, I was stuck. But when I finally learned to rest, to trust in what was meant for me, wasn't going to pass me by just because I took a break, that's when things shifted. That's when I started thinking clearer, performing better, loving deeper, and living stronger. That's when I learned that rest wasn't me falling behind. It was me setting myself up to leap ahead. And if you don't believe me, just look around. Some of the most successful people you see, they understand this truth. Athletes know it. Recovery days are just as important as training days. Musicians know it. They don't sing all day, every day. They protect their voice. Pilots know it. They can't fly if they're over the limit on hours because exhaustion means danger. Why? Because rest is wisdom. And if the best in the world rely on it, why would you think you any different? Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that changed my life when I finally understood it. Every single one of us is going to face setbacks. Every single one of us is going to have moments where life says no, where the door closes, where the opportunity slips out of your hands. That's part of the journey. The mistake most people make is they let the setback define them, they let the failure tell them who they are, and they let that no convince them that they are not worthy of a yes. But the truth is, setbacks are not the end of you. Setbacks are setups. They are lessons. They are fuel. And when you learn how to take that pain, that disappointment, that rejection and turn it into power, you become unstoppable. See, I've had more setbacks than I can count. Times when I didn't know how I was going to make it. Times when the dream looked too far. Times when people laughed at me, told me it couldn't be done, told me I wasn't the guy. And for a long time, I thought maybe they were right. But then I realized something. Every single time I got knocked down, every single time I failed, every single time the plan didn't work out, I was being taught, I was being shaped, I was being given material to build something stronger. The world will tell you to avoid failure. The world will tell you to fear it. But I'm here to tell you that failure is your teacher. Failure is your coach. Failure is your fuel. Let me break it down this way. Think about a bow and arrow. When you pull the arrow back, it feels like you're going in the wrong direction. The tension builds, the pressure builds, and for a moment you're moving backward. But that backward pull is what gives the arrow its power. Without the setback, there's no launch. Without the pull, there's no flight. That's how setbacks work in your life. They pull you back only to release you forward with more force, more speed, more direction than you ever had before. The key is to not quit while you pull back. The key is to trust that what feels like a setback is really preparing your shot. Setbacks fuel hunger. When you've been denied enough times, when you've been overlooked enough times, when you've been told you're not enough, it puts something in your spirit that comfort can't give you. Comfort never built greatness. Hunger did. Hunger that says, I'll prove you wrong. Hunger that says, I'll keep trying until it works. Hunger that says, this may have stopped me today, but it won't stop me forever. Hunger born from setback is what pushes people to levels they never would have reached if everything had gone smoothly. Because when it's handed to you easy, you don't value it the same. But when you fight for it, through setback after setback, it means more, it lasts longer, it shapes you deeper. Setbacks fuel resilience. Life doesn't care how perfect your plan is. Life doesn't care how smart you are or how talented you are. Life is going to test you. It's going to throw storms your way. It's going to knock you flat on your back. And if you don't know how to get up, if you don't know how to rise again, then you're done. But when you've been through setbacks before, when you've already tasted failure, when you've already been at rock bottom and lived to tell the story, you develop a kind of resilience that no book, no seminar, no easy road could ever teach you. That resilience becomes your armor. It becomes your backbone. It becomes the reason why the next time you get hit, you bounce back faster, stronger, tougher than before. Setbacks fuel wisdom. I promise you, you don't learn much from winning. When everything is going right, you don't stop to ask why, you just enjoy it. But when it goes wrong, when the deal falls through, when the dream gets delayed, when the relationship ends, that's when you start asking questions. That's when you start analyzing, digging deep, figuring out what needs to change. And that's where wisdom is. Some of the most valuable lessons of your life will come wrapped inside of failure. Some of the most important truths about who you are and what you're capable of will come out of the hardest moments you ever lived. If you're wise enough to look back at the setback and ask, what did this teach me? What did I gain from this? How can I use this? You'll come out with knowledge you could never have gotten otherwise. Setbacks fuel faith. Because sometimes the reason it didn't work is because it wasn't supposed to. Sometimes the reason the door closed is because it wasn't your door. Sometimes the reason you lost what you thought you couldn't live without is because God knew it would destroy you if you had it too soon. And I know that's hard to hear in the middle of the pain. I know it feels unfair when you gave your all and it still didn't work out. But looking back, you'll realize that some of the greatest blessings in your life came disguised as setbacks. That delay, that rejection, that failure, it redirected you. It pushed you to a path that was meant for you. And faith is what allows you to take that pain and still trust the process, to still believe that there's something greater on the other side. When you look at people who've achieved greatness, don't just admire their success. Go study their failures. Go study how many times they were told no. Go study how many doors slammed in their faces. Go study how many times they had to start over. What makes them great is not that they avoided failure. It's that they used it. They let the setback light a fire under them instead of putting the fire out. They didn't let the rejection stop them. They let it motivate them. They didn't let the failure define them. They let it refine them. That's the difference. I remember seasons in my own life where I thought I was finished. Times when I couldn't pay the bills. Times when I lost opportunities. Times when I was embarrassed by how far I had fallen. But looking back, I wouldn't trade those seasons for anything, because those setbacks taught me persistence. They taught me creativity. They taught me humility. They gave me stories to tell, strength to stand on, a character that can't be shaken. If I skipped the setbacks, I will skip the growth. If I skip the failures, I will skip the lessons. If I skip the pain, I will skip the fuel. So when you're in the middle of your setback, don't despise it. Don't let it convince you that your dream is dead. Don't let it make you give up on yourself. Look at it as fuel. Look at it as preparation. Look at it as the training ground that is building you into the person who can actually handle the success you're asking for. Because success without setback is shallow. But success born out of setback has roots. It has depth. It has power. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something I learned the hard way. Who you surround yourself with will make you or break you. The people in your life, the ones you spend time with, the ones you share your ideas with, the ones you laugh with, the ones you cry with, those people are either energy givers or energy takers. And if you want to recharge yourself, if you want to come back stronger, if you want to reach the highest version of who you're supposed to be, you better make sure your circle is filled with people who give you life, not people who drain it out of you. I used to think I could do everything on my own. I thought if I worked hard enough, believed hard enough, pushed hard enough, it didn't matter who was around me. But I was wrong. Because every single time I tried to move forward while keeping the wrong people in my life, I found myself stuck. You can't fly if you're tied to anchors. You can't rise if your circle is pulling you down. You can't stay motivated if the voices around you are filled with negativity, jealousy, and doubt. That's why it matters so much who you give access to your energy, because energy is contagious. You hang around complainers long enough, you become one. You hang around dreamers long enough, you become one. You hang around lazy people long enough, you become one. Your life will always reflect your circle. Energy givers are the people who light up the room when they walk in. They encourage you. They push you. They challenge you to be better. They celebrate you when you win, and they lift you when you fall. They don't compete with you. They complete you. They don't drain your spirit, they feed it. When you talk to them, you walk away feeling stronger, clearer, more focused. That's the kind of people you need in your corner. People who see your potential even when you can't. People who remind you of your greatness when you've forgotten it yourself. People who believe in your dream even when the world laughs at it. That's what an energy giver does. Energy takers, on the other hand, are a whole different story. These are the ones who always have something negative to say. They never see the good, only the bad. They make you doubt yourself. They make you question your vision. They make you feel small. They take and take and take until you got nothing left to give. And the worst part, sometimes they don't even mean to. Sometimes they don't even realize they're doing it. But whether it's intentional or not, the result is the same. You walk away from them feeling drained, tired, unmotivated, discouraged. And if you keep surrounding yourself with that kind of energy, you will never reach the place you're trying to go. One of the hardest lessons you'll ever have to learn in life is that not everybody can go with you. Some people are only meant for a season. Some people are only meant to teach you a lesson. Some people are only meant to show you who not to become. And if you don't recognize when it's time to let them go, you'll carry dead weight into your future. The truth is, some relationships expire. Some friendships have run their course. Some connections are blocking your growth because they keep you tied to an old version of yourself. And if you want to step into the new, you got to let go of the old. That doesn't mean you hate them. That doesn't mean you wish them harm. It just means you've decided your peace, your growth, your future matters too much to keep entertaining people who drain your energy. Let me tell you something about dream killers. Dream killers don't always show up as enemies. Sometimes they're your family. Sometimes they're your friends. Sometimes they're the people closest to you. They'll smile in your face and still plant seeds of doubt in your spirit. You'll tell them about your dream, and they'll say, that's too big, that's too risky, that's impossible. And if you're not careful, their words will become your reality. You'll start shrinking your dream to make them comfortable. You'll start lowering your standards to match theirs. That's why you need energy givers in your life, because dream killers will try to clip your wings, but energy givers will remind you that you were born to fly. You need people in your life who inspire you, who stretch you, who hold you accountable, people who see more in you than you see in yourself, people who won't let you quit when it gets hard, people who say, you're better than that, keep going, you've got more in you. You need people who speak life into your spirit, because words are powerful. The wrong words can destroy you, but the right words can resurrect you. That's why you got to guard your circle like your life depends on it, because it does. Think about a plant. If you plant it in bad soil, it doesn't matter how much sun it gets, it won't grow. But if you plant it in rich soil, it flourishes. Your environment is your soil. The people around you are your soil. If you're surrounded by toxic energy, negative words, small-minded thinking, you're not going to grow. But if you're surrounded by love, encouragement, faith, vision, and positivity, you'll flourish, you'll bloom. You'll reach heights you never thought possible because you were planted in the right environment. Now, don't get it twisted. Energy givers are always the ones who tell you what you want to hear. Sometimes they're the ones who tell you what you need to hear. They'll call you out when you're slipping. They'll tell you the truth even when it hurts. They hold you accountable because they believe in the greatness inside you. That's love. That's support. That's the kind of energy that doesn't just make you feel good, it makes you grow. If you want to know who the energy givers are in your life, pay attention to how you feel after you leave them. Do you feel lighter, happier, more motivated? Or do you feel drained, discouraged, and doubtful? Your spirit knows. Listen to it. Protect it. Don't ignore the red flags just because you've known somebody a long time. Longevity doesn't equal loyalty. History doesn't equal destiny. Just because somebody's been in your life for years doesn't mean they're supposed to stay. And one of the greatest acts of self-love you can ever do is to protect your energy. Stop letting people with toxic spirits have front row seats in your life. Stop letting people who don't clap when you win sit at your table. Stop letting people who don't want to see you shine keep you in the dark. You owe it to yourself to choose wisely, because you can't recharge around people who constantly unplug you. You can't find strength in a circle that only knows weakness. You can't build a future around people who are comfortable living in the past. Surround yourself with people who dream bigger than you. Surround yourself with people who are chasing purpose, not just money. Surround yourself with people who love God, who have faith, who see possibility where others see problems. Surround yourself with people who aren't intimidated by your success, but inspired by it. Surround yourself with people who clap loud when you win because they know their time is coming too. Surround yourself with people who bring peace to your storm, clarity to your confusion, strength to your weakness. Because at the end of the day, your circle is your mirror. If you want to know where your life is headed, look at the people around you. If you want to know why you're stuck, look at the people around you. If you want to know why you're growing, look at the people around you. Your energy will always reflect your environment. And if you want to live strong, if you want to come back stronger, if you want to stay recharged and ready for the battles ahead, then make sure the people walking with you are energy givers, not energy takers.